Hi everybody, today I'm going to ask Darren a few questions about his Ironman that is coming up in a few weeks' time. Coming from somebody that doesn't know a lot, this is directed at people that might be their first race, or they may just want to know more about what an Ironman involves and what you have to do. So the topics that we're going to cover today are, we're going to talk about taper phase, we're going to talk about what to pack, logistics, your race strategy, the course itself, and then obviously nutrition throughout the whole course.
I'd get you to jump in with some tips on that part, since it's your area of expertise. So yeah, thanks a minute for teeing that up, Hannah. So the race is not this weekend, next weekend. So half Ironman 70.3 down in Cork on the Saturday, that's the 19th of August, and then the full on the Sunday. We're going to concentrate mostly on the half. Anybody that we're coaching here in the gym or we're coaching remotely, most people are doing the half. So this is, again, like you said, aimed at beginners or people that have done one or two that want a couple of tips. Maybe you've done lots of Ironman 70.3 before, but you haven't done Cork. So there was 4 of us did it last year, so I've kind of compiled all our different learnings. Before we get into the video and go through the various headings that Hannah mentioned, there's lots of great content out there already, so I'm going to try to not repeat really good information that people have already given out. Some stuff I will reinforce, but I'm trying to kind of plug the gaps and things that myself and my kind of training group felt from last year could be of value to others. So shout out to Killian Moffat from Team What's Up. He always puts out great content. I've learned lots from checking out his content. I watched his Cork preview videos loads of times before I did it last year. And then Steve Moody from Piranha and Smart Endurance Solutions. Coach Steve, he's got so much great content and it's also very entertaining. So make sure to check both of those out. So yeah, like Hannah said, first up we're going to cover the taper phase. So we're in the taper phase now. If you're not already, you should be. So training's winding down, but you're probably used to allocating probably 10 to 15 hours, 8 to 15 hours a week of training. So you can still allocate that time towards the event, albeit you're not training. So you can be just getting your stuff together, recovering, get a bit of massage. I've got a cheat sheet here in case I forget stuff. Just use this time to try and be as healthy as you can be. Get as much sleep in as you can, take naps. Kids, maybe do a bit extra with the kids so you have a bit more time off next week. Netflix, ditch the Netflix, get to bed an hour earlier. Nutrition, not so much this week, but next week, like start getting on top of your nutrition early in the week. In terms of your carbohydrates, your salts. Back end of the week, maybe reducing your fibre a little bit. Again, you might be able to speak better on that. And again, we're not going into too much detail on anything. If you do have specific questions, you can leave comments. Massage, physical therapy, recovery boots, you know, whatever is your thing. Some people hate massage, some people love it. Use this week to get that done. Time on feet, just be mindful. Don't stand when you can sit, don't sit when you can lie down. So yeah, that's pretty much us for the taper phase.
I like that. Don't stand when you can lie, or don't sit when you can lie down. Okay, and then going on, what should someone pack?
So packing, again, you want to get this done early or have like a list of what you need to do. So what I would say is, kind of sneaks into logistics here a little bit, but don't leave it till the Thursday, okay? You definitely want to be taking Friday off to get yourself down there, get loads of time. If you're going into work, trying to wrap up work Friday morning, forget about it. Like, if you're traveling abroad for a race, which a lot of people do, you would be just you'd be out of office. So just have that mindset, even though the race in Ireland. If you're packing Thursday and you forget something, it's probably too late to go and get it. So like, make sure you have your shit together, even if you're not packing well in advance of Thursday. Pack a wet weather bag. So I always like you get these types of bags free at events. Put like your rain jacket, your like worst case scenario gear in here, and then close it shut and pray for good weather. But at least if you have all your gear, you can kind of grab it. It's in one area. You're not siphoning through it while you're looking for something that's really important. If you need your rain jacket, you're probably going to need all the other shit, crappy weather gear. But just have it there in a toy bag. Hope that you don't open it and you're good to go. As Coach Steve says, better to be looking at something than looking for something. So yeah, that's another great tip from him. So that's
Cool. And then moving on to logistics.
Logistics, yeah. So like I said, arrive early, get yourself set up, check your bike, supporters, friends, family, unfortunately you've got to just ditch them, okay? They're all going to be like, oh, what about this, what about that, listen, can we leave a bit early because I'm meeting Susie for coffee? You've got to be selfish. You've put months and probably a whole year of training into it. You just need to look after number one, and when they're like, oh listen, where do we park and what time you'll be here, like, you just have to be a bit selfish and they'll figure it out. It's something you don't need to be stressing about. Like I said, make sure you take a Friday off, prep and pack on Thursday at the latest. Check your bike and check you have all your gear this weekend and check it all works. You should have done that already, but if you haven't, and you need to go to your bike shop for service, you'll need to ring and beg or just like, yeah, do your best because they'll probably be too busy to get you in this week. But you've got 7 days to get that sorted. You should have it already, but better to realise this weekend than realise on Wednesday or Thursday. You'll really be in trouble then. Sooner you get to y'all, the sooner you get to like figure out your bearings, where everything is, where the check-in is, where you leave your bike, where you leave your run stuff for T1 and T2. The sooner you get everything boxed off, the sooner you get your bike put away, the sooner you can start to relax. You'll relax for 2 or 3 hours and then you get home and you'll start shitting yourself again. Happens every time, but the sooner you get down there, the sooner you'll get it all boxed off. If something goes wrong, at least you've time to react. If you're not planning on getting down there and skidding in till the last minute, you're going to be in trouble then if anything does go wrong. Stuff always takes longer than you think. Registered for an Ironman, like there's a notorious amount of, like it just takes ages. Even last year we got down there with loads of time and before we knew it, it was like 5 o'clock. And we were like, let's go and have lunch. We were like, it's 4:30. Yeah, so yeah, just give yourself lots of time. And then at least you can sit back watching everybody else fuss, or you can catch up with mates that are down there. The last thing you want to be doing is fussing around the place.
And supporters can follow an app, can't they?
The app is class. The app's great, the Ironman app, and it'll give you all the races that are happening all over the world. Ireland will be at the top, so you'll have the 70.3 for the Saturday and the full for the Sunday. Type in whoever it is you're following, type in their name and you can track them the whole way around. Cool. It's really, really cool. Not just for me that likes to do it, but like friends of mine that have no interest. I follow anyone I know around the world. I even follow people that I don't know because I'm a creep. But it's good entertainment. It's a little bit delayed, but like it'll give you a good idea of when someone's coming in off the bike. It won't give you much on the swim, don't worry, that doesn't mean people are drowning. Probably shouldn't joke about that, touch wood. But yeah, the bike is pretty good. There's lots of checkpoints on the bike and then there's lots of checkpoints on the run. The course is quite condensed, so if you watch people, you can watch people coming out of the water, you can watch them start their bike all in the same place, then say goodbye to them for the guts of 2.5 to 3.5 hours. You'll see them come back in on the famous Windmill Hill, which we'll talk about, and then they'll disappear for a little bit, and then you'll see them back down the run, and on the run you can kind of move around the town. So as a supporter, it's a great place to watch a race. We stuck around there all day Sunday, even though we competed on the Saturday last year, we stuck around all day Sunday to support people, had great crack, and so much so that our wives were being nice enough to let us stay around there this weekend, and there might be a few beverages and we won't be coming home till Monday. Right?
Okay.
So the other thing with logistics, when you get down to y'all, like just follow the marshals, they'll tell you where to park, and then bring your bike with you for registration. Go from registration to the bike park, go from the bike park up to transition 2. You will walk up Windmill Hill to get to transition 2. It's good to walk up it. I underestimated how steep it was last year. I love the bike, I love climbing. It's pretty steep, but walking up it humbles you. You get a good look at that bend going into it, so you see you can't really carry much speed into it. Again, we'll talk about that when it comes to race strategy. And what else? Really good ice cream shop beside T1, so yeah, if the sun is shining like it was last year, I'd highly recommend indulging in some ice cream.
Sure.
Your take on that?
Time.
This is beforehand. No, this is the day before.
I was like,
Cheeky ice cream won't do any harm nutritionally.
No.
Yeah.
It'll probably make you happy, which is important.
It's very important, yeah. But like that, if you're rushing and panicking, you won't be stopping for ice cream, so give yourself that extra couple of minutes. Yeah, so there's a bit of time on feet, bit of run around, bit of stress. As soon as you get that boxed off, you're grand. That's that. Logistics, I don't think there's anything else there. Again, if there's questions, just pop them in the comments.
Race strategy next?
Yeah, race strategy. So this is one again I came across first from Killian Moffat, but have plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan B is your plan, okay? Plan A then is if like all the stars align and you're just like, today is my day, I feel amazing, you know, nothing can stop me and everything is going better than I could have ever imagined. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that will happen, but more likely that your plan B is what you're going to hit. And then plan C is like, okay, things aren't quite what I had hoped, but I've got a plan. Why would you make 3 plans? It just helps you remain calm during the race, to know where you're at, and when you look at your paces, you know where you'll sit ballpark. So I would have a estimated time for your swim, estimated time for your transition, 1 from the swim to the bike. You shouldn't be spending more than 5 minutes in transition. Again, the top age groupers and stuff will laugh when I say 5 minutes, but that's realistic for, you know, social triathletes, as we'll call us ourselves. You know, if you're more than 5 minutes, you're just taking too long. If you're under 5 minutes, happy days. But at the same time, people that are doing it for the first time, don't get bogged down in the tips and tricks that the pros use. Don't sprint through transition in 2.5 minutes to get out on the bike and realise you've put your shoes on wrong or you've forgot something or whatever. So like, you don't need to absolutely sprint through them, but don't dilly-dally either. I came out of the water first of my group kind of last year, the lads I was doing it with, and thought I was great and this, that and the other. And then one of the lads came into transition and he came in after me and was out before me. So you run into a tent, you get your bag, get your swim gear off, get your bike gear on, and he was gone, and I was like, shit, so that really put the smoke up me. I somehow managed to exit the bike park before him, so either I ran faster or he stopped and went to the toilet, or he had a problem with his bike, something like that. But that was a little mental kick up the arse for me last year. Know your time on the bike, your estimated time on the bike. Again, no more than 5 minutes in transition 2, going from the bike to the run, and then know your time for the bike. For example, last year I had a good swim by my standards, a good bike by my standards, so I hit my like plan A. I was like, oh, this is the best day ever, this is the best day ever, and then my run absolutely fell to pieces. Now I wouldn't be a strong runner anyway, maybe I overexerted myself on the swim and the bike and I paid for it on the run. Either way, I had a great time, but in my head I knew where I was the whole time. Like, I knew I was going really well, and then I was like, my run wasn't great, tried to push harder, couldn't, and I was like, oh well. But I didn't panic because I knew in my head the times, and I was like, right, well, I've gone AAC, so overall that gives me a kind of a B time, or thereabouts. And when I crossed the line, like the time I had estimated in my head, when I crossed the line I came in slightly under that, so again I was pleasantly surprised. If I didn't have that planned out in advance, I probably would have panicked much more on the day. So it's a really good strategy to employ. I definitely advise that. So plan B is what you're planning on, plan A is if everything goes amazing, and plan C is if things aren't going so well.
Very good, that's good. Okay, so...
Sorry,
yes.
I'm just, as we're talking, I'm thinking, also I was chatting to somebody last week, said we were talking about the bike. They said, oh well, I'm just going to try and stick to a certain speed, and I was like, alright, well what if it's windy? And they were like, I hadn't thought about that. So like, conditions will affect your times, so you might have an aim for the time of the swim, but if the sea is blowing up a storm and it's rough enough that we're allowed to swim, like, you will be slower, don't let that dishearten you, but everybody will be slower, so it'll be relative. Again, if the wind is blowing hard on the bike, it's going to slow everyone down by a couple of minutes. So adjust your expectations in accordance to the conditions. Again, last year the weather was really, really warm. That slowed a lot of people down, caught a lot of people out. People got dehydrated, just weren't conditioned to training in the heat, so that slowed some people down. So you have your plan A, B and C, but allow variance for the weather.
Cool. Well, talking about weather and anything impacting on the course, if it's very wet, or how does the course look like? So
like I said, you're going to have your wet weather bag. Again, put that into you'll put some bits into your bike bag, into your run bag, but you'll know the day before, the night before if you need to. So if we talk about the course, so the swim, it's a little bit different. Maybe it was just last year compared to doing these events on the continent. So at the start it's not as clearly labelled as it normally would be. So you will have like a 20 to 25 minute pen, and everybody lines up in there that thinks they're going to swim the course in that time. You'll have a 25 to 30 minute pen, and so on and so on. It wasn't very clearly labelled last year. That combined with a lot of people probably being overly confident, combined with people just wanting to get in the water and get started, makes for a bit of a mess. So a lot of people are up the front and in pens that they can't actually swim to that speed, so that means you're having to swim over the top of people, or even just they're swimming in the wrong directions and stuff like that. So not that I'm an expert swimmer, I'll probably be the one swimming in the wrong direction, but you know, it bear that in mind. So if you can get into your proper pen, and just bear in mind at the start it's going to be a bit of a shit show with people going everywhere. You go into the water, it's quite rocky, you're out to the right, you're around buoys, and then you start to catch the tide and the current back in. So the start of the swim, the first kind of 400 or 500 meters is the hardest. So when you feel like crap or you haven't gotten into your rhythm, know that that's okay, you're in the hardest part. And then once you turn the first buoy, but particularly the second buoy, the conditions are in your favour the whole way back in. The field will have spaced out a little bit, so you'll be able to get in your rhythm. So if you're like, again, I'm not an expert swimmer, but it probably takes me goods of 800 metres to get into settled and into a rhythm. But the fact that I know that keeps me calm. So when I feel like shit at the start of a swim, I don't actually panic because I'm like, this is normal. And then I finish the swim and I go, actually I didn't do too bad. It was all just, maybe I just didn't feel good, but I was still swimming the same speed. And again, that's common among a lot of people. That
you're setting a lot of high expectations.
I thought to.
Everyone's going to get a PB swim.
Put anti-fog in your goggles beforehand. Dip your goggles in the water if you can. Like be there on early so you can get in and actually have a little swim. Make sure it all feels good in your head. The last thing you want is your goggles steaming up on the halfway through the race. Again, I've raced like that before and you get through it, but if you can avoid it, even better. There's a couple of landmarks on the swim. So obviously the buoys, some people are better than others at sighting for buoys. If you struggle to sight, and for example, like if I can't pick the buoy, I just follow Hannah. So I can see her, or I can see the silhouette of her in the water, stick with her. The danger is then Hannah might take me off in the wrong direction, so you have to hope that they know where they're going. But again, if you can't follow the landmarks, follow the people. If you feel really good and confident, and you're confident sticking close to someone without bashing into them, stick on their hip or stick on their feet, again, that's a really good tactic to employ. Some people are like, that sounds like my worst nightmare, I just want to be out on my own and not get hit by anybody. I've been that person too, so that's cool also. When you get to the lighthouse, particularly, put the foot down. You're into the last phase of the swim, you've got the full flow of the tide and the current. Go hard. You will be knackered, but you're nearly there, and it's a nice run in. You get up the ramp, and amazing support at the top of the ramp when you finish the swim.
Cool.
The last thing before, in part of your logistics and your race prep, you know, you got the hotels, the fancy hotels that you go to, especially, and they give you nice little slippers.
Yes.
And you rob them, obviously.
Yes.
They're great for the morning of an Ironman. Okay, so you're going to get into your wetsuit, you're going to dump your bag in the trailer that you'll pick up after the race, and you'll either walk around your bare feet or bring an old pair of socks at a minimum, or if you have fake fancy free hotel shoes, or cheap flip-flops.
Yeah.
And it's not littering or any of that crap, like there's bins there literally as you exit the water, but it just means you're not walking around your bare feet. Last thing you want to do is cut your foot or something and then have to do a multi-sport, you know, 5 to 8 hour endurance race.
Yeah. Good point.
So that's a good one. Yeah. In Cork, when you come up the ramp, like I just mentioned, the support is unbelievable. You'll get a proper buzz there. You come down, a bit of a run down into a marquee. Your marquee is where your bag will be hanging up for your bike gear. You'll be absolutely knackered at this point, but you'll also be slightly giddy because of all the screaming and shouting of the supporters. It's okay to be knackered. Just get a move on. You'll get your rest, you'll get your breath back on the bike. First timers and kind of, like I said, are more social triathletes. I wouldn't be fussing about leaving your shoes clipped onto your bike with elastic bands and all that rubbish. The time you save is minimal. Like, how long does it take to put on a pair of bike shoes and turn the dial or flick the Velcro and then just fucking run? Excuse the French, you know. But like, yeah, you can be obsessing over these tiny little details, and you see those people then when they try and mount their bike unless they're very good at it and have done it lots of times before, please don't worry about doing that. I nearly went into the back of someone last year because they were not very good at getting on their bike. So
watch out for Darren.
Watch out for me, just watch out for, if you are that person that's maybe not great at mounting their bike, don't stop in the middle of the road when there's tons of other people coming behind you, because you might get somebody coming up your ass. Maybe do it to the side at one of the barriers. But also then, if you're on it, like, and you're running out of the bike park and you want to get going, just be mindful, like, you might be good to do a flying start or be pretty quick getting up on your bike, but someone else can decide to stop for tea and scones and say hi to their girlfriend, wife, daughter, and then be like, "Actually, listen, I better get on my bike and get going." You'd be amazed what you see. So just keep an eye out for the traffic, the human traffic in front of you, and know, okay, he looks like he's stopping to socialise and take pictures. I want to get a move on. Yeah. On the bike course then, it's very fast to start. The first 30-40k is very, very flat. Like, get stuck in, let rip, have fun. Again, it'll be disjointed because you'll have people that are very good swimmers that are out ahead of you, but maybe they're not as good on the bike. When you're passing people, like, don't be afraid to shout at people in a non-aggressive but assertive manner. That you're on the right, you're passing on the right, because you'll get some people, like, and it's like they're out for a Sunday cycle, cycling side by side, blocking up the whole road, even though you're strictly speaking not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You will get that, and again, if you're on a mission, just assertively shout at them from a distance on your right, say it over and over again, give them as much chance to get out of the way. If someone was passing me, I'd much rather have them shouting at me from further behind than catch me off guard, so assertive but not aggressive. If you need to be aggressive, go for it. The road surface is very mixed. Again, Steve Moody goes into good detail on the bike course in his video, definitely check that out. You will lose bottles, I guarantee you'll lose bottles. Okay, so I normally race with 2 bottles. I'm going to be bringing 3, knowing that I'm going to lose 1. So yeah, bear that in mind. The last feed station on the bike is at 75 kilometers. It is the worst placed feed station I've ever seen in my life. It's at the top of a climb, and you're like, oh, lovely, top of a climb, feed station, a bit of food, bit of water, isotonic, whatever you need. As soon as you get it, you're into a sharp right hand downhill, fairly steep, you pick up a good bit of speed, road surface is horrendous. I lost 2 bottles on that descent last year. I was hemming and hawing as to whether to take a bottle at the top, and like that, better to be looking at something rather than looking for it. I took it and I was like, shit, now I'm weighed down with 3 water bottles. Yeah. They weren't all full, that I probably don't need for the last 15k, and like, I barely finished that thought in my mind and 2 bottles popped off my bike, and I was going, well, thank God I had 3 water bottles. Now I've got 1 to nurse me to, because you want to get on as much like fuel and stuff the last little bit of the bike to set you up for the run. So from that 75k on, you're fueling for the run, not really the last little bit of the bike, if that makes sense. So that is a nightmare. So be mindful after that fuel station. You don't have time. I went down the descent with, like, I'm pretty sure I definitely had 1 bottle in my hand holding handlebars, and it was sketchy. So yeah, it's a nightmare. So be warned for that 75k feed station, worst place feed station in the world. You will lose bottles, so I'm gonna just wheel in my bike here real quick. So this is my setup. This one here, again, I had this last year. This little, if you have this contraption on your bike for a water bottle at the front, this would normally be placed down here, flat. That's coming straight out, that's gone. So again, that happened to me last year. So to get it up a little bit at an angle, get some like the Velcro, but tape it on if you need to. The road is really rough, your bike will rattle like crazy, so anything that's not like really secure will come off. Your Garmin, again, if you've got a little elastic thing, use it, because it's much more expensive to lose than a water bottle. I'm using this as my tools and spares, and then 2 here. Again, all I need is 2, so if 1 flies off, I'll still be alright. If 2 fly off, I'll still be alright. If 3 fall off, well, at least I tried my best. Alright.
Thank you for the demonstration of throwing the water bottle off the bike.
From there, yeah, your bike, again, we talked about making sure your bike is right and all that. You will need a 28 cassette on the back of your bike. For those that don't know what that means, it means the little teeth, the sprocket, so the biggest sprocket on the back of your bike, it'll have it engraved on it, or if it can't, like, count how many teeth are on the top. If you've got 25, if you've got less than 28, you're going to struggle to get up Windmill Hill. You might want to consider walking, or else it's just going to be a real grind to get up. If you've got 28 and above, you'll be absolutely fine. I've got 30 on mine because I'd rather have an extra gear or two that I'm looking for there to use, and if I don't use them, fine. I went up with a 28 last year and it was fine. It was a good grind. There's no shame in walking up it, but I had absolutely no intention of walking up it just because I like the bike. I was happier to have a crap run and have got up Windmill Hill because that was just a personal ambition of mine in the race. So have a think about that for yourself. When you come into Windmill Hill, it's quite a sharp turn into it. You don't really get much of a run in. What I would say, and what worked well, was in the last couple of kilometres, bear in mind who's around you on the bike. Does he look like he knows what he's doing? Is he a good bike rider? Is he a good bike handler? Or does he look like the type of guy that's going to absolutely shit himself as soon as he gets to the bottom of Windmill Hill? Do I want to be stuck behind him? Not a chance. So again, I made that mistake at T1. I wasn't going to let it happen again, so there was a couple of people in around me I made sure I got ahead of, because I just didn't like the look of them and I didn't trust that they'd be able to be confident at the bottom of Windmill Hill, and I didn't want their problems to become my problems. Everybody had said to me, get into the lowest gear possible approaching Windmill Hill. I did that, and then I got onto the hill, and maybe I carried more speed than I thought onto the hill, but when I got onto the hill then I was pedalling air. I was going too fast. So I would say, while that is good advice, like, if you are able to carry a bit of speed on, leave yourself a couple of gears, because it does, like, it's steep right from the start, but it does kick up in parts, and again, you're going to have a little bit more energy at the start than you would at the end, so you'd rather have an extra gear or two to be able to click into on the way, rather than just spinning thin air as soon as you get to the bottom. Support's absolutely amazing. Again, beware, you will get people that will cycle up halfway and then they'll decide to walk the rest, so you just don't want to be like head down pedaling and then all of a sudden running into the back of someone that's decided to walk. So be mindful of that. So also on the bike, just avoiding people on Windmill Hill, like I was saying, but the energy is unbelievable. You'll have a great time, so embrace it, enjoy it. As you get up to the top, it does peter off a bit, and at that stage you're rolling into transition for the run. Transition's on the right. Just before we talk about transition 2 and the run, your bike bag on your top shoe, most people will be carrying something like that on the top of their bike. Have your nutrition in there. We'll talk about nutrition in a bit, but like any bars or anything like that, don't have them stuffed in there in the wrappers. Take them out of the wrappers, or even leave them in the wrappers but have the wrapper already cut open. If you can have the wrapper open and the bars, like say a Cliff bar for example, have it like cut into squares, so you'll be a little geek the night before opening your Cliff bar, whatever bar you take, if it's a Nutrigrain, whatever else, chop it up and then like just kind of attempt to fold it back up and stick it in there, so you're not having to unwrap bars, you literally just be chomping away. Connor, a good friend of mine, he did it last year, and his pro tip is to do your bars but stick them in the freezer, because it's normally like hot conditions, so by the time you get around there, just don't arrive on the course and realise your bag's in the freezer. So maybe throw a car key or house key in the freezer with them so you physically cannot leave without grabbing your nutrition. Salt tablets in here are good, because you don't want to be doing like dissolvable salts into your water bottles. That's just pissing around on the bike that you don't need to be doing. So have a couple of salt tablets. We'll talk about painkillers when we get onto the run. You don't have to stand over anymore. Okay. So yeah, you come off the bike, you're into a football field. You'll be absolutely shattered at this point from your effort on Windmill Hill, but you'll also be buzzing from the crowds and the energy, and you know, okay, I've come off the bike, even if I walk or crawl, I'll get to the finish. Speaking of finishing, I left out when we were talking about race strategy. If it's your first 70.3 or your first full Ironman, the goal is just to finish. So don't be setting yourself lofty targets on times and stuff like that. The goal is to finish. Again, if you're within that goal on the run, you're confident you can finish, by all means push it, but don't be going out too hard looking for a time when you've never done the event. Just get your first one under your belt, get that medal, and then that gives you a baseline to kind of push on from next time. Last thing you want to do is not finish the race or walk or cramp because you went too hard at the start. You'll be so disappointed. T2, like that, you're into a soccer field. Again, park your bike, you run into a marquee, your run gear will be there, and out you go. Another tip for transition, like wear socks. Nobody needs blisters. You're not going to save that much time by not putting on socks. A tip I like to do is the anti-chafe cream for wetsuits for your neck or whatever. Put that on your feet. So I'll have an anti-chafe pre-swim, put my wetsuit on, and then I'll have a second one in my run bag. So like literally a quick, or you can do Vaseline either. Like it's just going to stop you from blistering. So that, then your socks, you can either do it before you go on the bike or before you go on the run. I wear socks on the bike, so I'll do it there. It's a good tip. Again, I'd rather take an extra few seconds to do that than be slowing down because I got blisters on the run because I was trying to save time by not wearing socks. When you come out of the run, the first bit of the run is all downhill, and again you'll kind of go back past the crowds at Windmill Hill a little bit, so you'll pick up a bit of that atmosphere and energy. You're downhill, just take it nice and easy, let your heart rate settle down. You'll be going fast anyway because of it. You'll be going faster than you want because of the downhill, or you'll be at the pace you want, but like back off on your efforts. Don't be, if you go with effort, you'll be way further ahead. You'll pass by that lovely ice cream shop I mentioned as well, and then you're on to the run course. Hopefully at that stage your mates that were probably cheering you on Windmill Hill have made their way down to the run course. You'll probably get another cheer from them, but you're running through the streets of Youghal. It's packed both sides, atmosphere is amazing. You kind of go out then a little bit out of the town, and then you're back into the town, then you're a little bit out of the town again, you're back into the town. So there's lots of places for people to see you, and then at that point, when you and your gang or your triathlon club members or whatever are all in off the bike, you'll start to see people on the run ahead of you, you'll see people on the run behind you, but mentally, like every couple of kilometres you're seeing someone and it gives you a bit of a buzz and a bit of a cheer, and you know, okay, they're ahead of me, okay, can I track them down? And all sorts of mental things. It's quite useful. Like you know, you think, oh, I'm actually quite close behind them, and they're like, I would have said they were way better than me. That gives you a buzz. Or you might see someone coming behind you, and you're going, well, I'm not letting them pass me, and all sorts of competitive things come out in you. But it's cool because you see each other lots. You can encourage each other. The aid stations and water stations are every couple of K. I have to run course here. Do I have to run course? No, I don't have to run course. Every couple of K, I can't remember, it's every 2 or 3 K approximately. Again, the strategy I've used in the past and lots of people have is run, walk the stations, even if it's just throwing a cup of water over your head and drinking one. Again, what's at the stations, water, isotonic, gels, it's the same stuff at every station. Last year it was really hot, so there was people spraying you with hoses. You might want to go for that, you might not. Don't be afraid to walk the stations. Most races I walk the stations, and by the time I start running again I catch up with the guys I was running with that little pod, so you're not losing time that way. Do whatever works for you. Break it down into 3 7K blocks, so your first 7K block, your middle 7K block, your last 7K block, or 4 5s, and then you've got a K at the end where you're just gonna absolutely go for broke. The course is 2 laps, so even mentally you can go 2 laps, 3 7K blocks or 4 5K blocks. Break it down whatever way you want. Plan your finish, so you do first loop and then you'll see where the red carpet and the finish line is, but you're directed back around that way. There was one guy last year that cheekily ran onto the red carpet after 1 lap. Says it was a mistake, who knows. Definitely the thought does enter your mind, so you have to go around, do another lap, and then when you're able to just go up for that red carpet, it's pretty cool. Have a think about the red carpet, like when you're running along, do you want to be high-fiving the people that are there? Do you want to be doing a little dab? Do you want to be doing whatever sort of celebration Ronaldo does? I don't know what it is, but a lot of people seem to do it.
Well, he does. Doesn't he do it?
That one, yeah. Sue, even though his name's Cristiano. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, if you want to do that, do that. Again, so guy last year, Mick Yo, grabbed his kids, brought them across, got disqualified, didn't give a shit, got a great picture. He knew what he was doing, but again, that was more important to him. A bit like the way I said, I don't care if I walk the run as long as I cycle up Windmill Hill. Like, plan what's important for you. It's a great event, you'll have a great time. Enjoy your finish. You're gonna get followed at the finish line, so try and look happy, despite the fact that you might feel knackered. And And then nutrition, we just very quickly on nutrition again, there's lots of people will break it down in more detail for you. Roughly speaking, like an absolute minimum 60 grams carbohydrates an hour, up to 120 only if your guts can handle it and you've practiced it. Try and get your solid food on the bike, and then so you're not relying on solid food in the later end of the race. Eat well all week, like build your nutrition over the course of the week. Don't have a big heavy meal the night before, a big bowl of pasta. There's much better ways of doing it. So like drip feed your nutrition really well over time rather than like condensing it into one small block. Make sure you have electrolytes and salts in your water. No more than 500 mils of liquid the morning of, because you'll just end up standing there pissing in your wetsuit, which nobody wants. So 500 mils again is a bit of a sweet spot for the morning of. Painkillers, salty. Don't take anything else. And that's us. Yeah, we will again check out Cillian Moffat, Team What's Up. Check out Steve Moody. They've got videos that go into much more detail. Have a great time.
Good luck.
Thanks a million. Cheers. Any questions, just leave a comment and we'll get back to you.